Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This should be bot number 15 from Dubious positions and how to attack them. And this, unlike the previous videos, we will be starting on a new opening system and perhaps the most complicated opening systems of them all, the central cannon versus the screen house defense. So without further ado, let us begin. Central cannon. Red develops to strike chariot as a foul chariot. Screen house defense. Now usually black could also play p7 plus 1 or h2 plus 3. All these are considered orthodox. Now if he played p7 plus 1, it will mean that he will be prepared to play the 7th pawn advancement variation. On this board, red would choose to play p7 plus 1 and black would counter likewise. These two moves are considered to be able to offset each other. And red attacks with the pawn rank chariot, targeting the horse and applying pressure on this flank. Black edges the cannon to trade for trade of chariots. Usually, red would decline or the game will become drawish. And black would now retreat his cannon to the third rank and attack this chariot using the screen house defense. The screen house is over here as cannon mounts. Now, red would play h8 plus 7 in this variation. Now, at this point in time, this is very complicated. Other options would include playing h8 plus 9, p5 plus 1 for the rapid pawn advancement, which is a very aggressive variation. c8 plus 7 is also possible. Since the cannon had retreated, this horse will now not be protected. And of course, there's always the 5-6 cannons variations. So at this point in time, over here, at this point in time, the opening system will start diverging. Now in this variation, red chooses to play both horses as proper horses, and this is one very commonly seen position. Now it is very important for black to play a4 plus 5 as a prophylactic move, so that later on, if this cannon will attack, black could retreat the cannon over here to link them up. And a4 plus 5 is the correct advisor to move, because black could play e3 plus 5 and have the option of playing r1 equals to 4 to develop this chariot. Now in this board, red would choose to attack with the 5-9 cannons, which is one of the most complicated variations there is in Xiangqi. Now h7 plus 6 is considered to be one of the older variations, and usually black would counter with c9 equals to 7, dislodging the red chariot. Black would then attack the horse. Red would protect. A prophylactic move to prepare to play r1 equals to 4, of which red will prevent and start adjusting his formation. p3 plus 1, if the pawn catches, red will capture that red horse. p3 plus 1 as a counter, and black will usually play r8 minus 1, and black can hold his own very easily in this 4-pawn rendezvous situation. Now this will lead to many complicated situations which are beyond the scope of this board, but h7 plus 6 is a commonly seen variation, but usually black is able to handle red's aggressions very nicely. So in this board, c8 equals to 9 was played. Now this is considered to be orthodox, and with the 5-9 cannons, black would now start his retaliation. c9 equals to 7, r3 equals to 4, because this is the only safe spot. h7 plus 8. So red would attack the center, and in this opening system, black would target its flank. r9 equals to 8, r1 equals to 2, r8 plus 6. So in compensation for black attacking, red would attack this flank also. p7 plus 1, pushing the pawn, threatening to capture the chariot. And red's chariot will be forced to move. Now, at this point in time, both colors will be attacking one flank. Now, r4 minus 1 will be the advised or recommended move to make in this situation. If r4 minus 3, black could play will retreat his horse again to target the chariot, but there are now subtle differences in the situation. Obviously, the red chariot cannot capture the pawn because the cannon will still be attacking it. So if red moved away, because of the subtle differences, black would now push the pawn forward and gain quite a considerable advantage. Now, if red tried to play r4 plus 2, there's always c2 minus 1 as mentioned earlier. So the importance of moving the advisor is also seen here. Now all these are considered to be orthodox opening lines. So it's recommended for red to play r4 minus 1. The chariot is attacking the horse, which is protected by the black chariot. So red would play p7 plus 1 to attack, and red will usually retreat his horse to be developed from this flank. So as can be seen, the situation has become more and more complicated. e7 plus 5, a prophylactic for defense. Now, e7 plus 5 is usually advised, although this would be the opposite direction guard, but with e7 plus 5, there's always the added option of c7 minus 1 to protect the cannon. And this would be the dubious move in this board. With r8 equals to 7, it will appear that red will be attacking the horse and force the black cannon to protect it, whereby red could play r4 equals to 8. However, this is not a good move because now black would be prepared to sacrifice material for a very powerful retaliatory attack. Instead, the recommended move at this point in time would be to play h7 plus 6, so that this horse, red will still keep his pin on the cannon and chariot over here and allow his horses to be developed from this flank. There's always h6 plus 5 as a powerful counter attack later on. So this would be the dubious move. And black will usually counter very aggressively with this move. Now this would be the position of discussion for this board. Okay. Now at this point in time, it would not be a good idea for black to back off and play h3 minus 4, because black could immediately apply a pin, continue to apply a pin, and if red advanced the horse again, red will push the pawn forward. And again, there's a subtle difference in this situation, because once the pawn has advanced, the elephant cannot capture, or red's chariot would capture it and still attack the horse, so red would have the advantage. So that is why red cannot afford to protect or retreat his horse. Instead, he should be aggressive and play c2 plus 4. Two main variations were discussed: variation A, p7 plus 1, and variation B, h7 plus 6. In variation A, red would push the pawn across the river for attack. Red would play c2 equals to 3 to attack the chariot. And red would be forced to make this move. Now, p7 equals to 8 is not viable because red would now would use this cannon to capture the elephant and force red to capture it. And after doing so, this cannon will now capture the other elephant, delivering a check, and then capture the chariot. And it is very obvious that black would now have the superior advantage in this situation, and black should win for sure. So that is why p7 plus 8 is not a viable option. Instead, r7 equals to 6 to block the elephant and allow the pawn to advance would be the recommended move. But black would have his own ideas and attack with r2 plus 8, targeting the 5-9 cannons. Now, black would now be prepared to play r2 equals to 4 to sacrifice his chariot, so that a smarter cannon checkmate would be possible. So that is why red will be forced to retreat his chariot in this manner, such that if r2 equals to 4 were played, red will play r4 equals to 3 to capture the cannon. Now, p7 plus 1 is not a good idea, even though it will appear that red will now advance the pawn to protect this chariot and also attack the black horse, because red forgot about the other cannon. So this would be the correct move. r2 equals to 4 would be a bad idea at this point in time, because red would simply retreat his horse, and even if r4 plus 2 was played, black could now trade horses and have advanced the pawn very deeply into black's territory, and red would not have gained anything. Black would not have gained anything in the process. So that is why r2 equals to 4 is not a bad idea, but instead black could counter in this manner. r6 minus 3, r2 minus 2. Again, this would be a nice move, protecting the cannon, preparing to deliver a check, and capturing the chariot. Red is forced to retreat his horse, and black would now have annihilated the red pawn. Because the red pawn had used 1, 2, 3 moves to get to this intersection, this would mean that red would have sustained a loss of tempo of 3 moves, so black would have the advantage in this situation. So that is why it would be a bad idea to play p7 plus 1. Instead, red should play r6 minus 3. But in doing so, black would simply sacrifice his cannon and attack the other elephant in this manner. So black would have used one cannon to trade for 2 of black's elephants and managed to achieve a very powerful attack on this flank. And once the pawn is pushed forward, even though red had one more major piece, his defense was crumbling, the palace was congested, and red is on the verge of defeat. So that is why p7 plus 1 would not be a good idea, and all this red's predicament would have stemmed from playing r8 equals to 7 earlier. So this is why this is a dubious move. So let us see variation B, which is even more complicated. Now, because black's retaliation was based on the fact that he could play c2 equals to 3 to attack the elephant, in variation B, red will play h7 plus 6 to move his horse to the riverbank and threaten to play p7 plus 1 also. Now, on the surface, this would appear to be a good idea. However, black will continue his attack, forcing the chariot away, and still continue to attack in this manner, r2 plus 8. Now, this is a very powerful move. Not only does the chariot threaten red's root rank, it will also block the elephant from moving to the edge file, therefore making the threat of this cannon still very viable. This will be a very powerful attack by black. So red will be forced to make this move. This is imperative for red to make this move. He cannot play p7 plus 1, because if he did, red would now pin the horse and the red chariot in the same file, preparing to sacrifice this horse. And again, the threat of this cannon cannot be ignored, because once it attacked, red would be forced to move the chariot away, and red would simply capture the pawn and threaten to checkmate. Red's position will crumble immediately. Now, of course, r4 plus 1 is not possible, because the black horse would have this intersection covered. So h6 plus 5 to trade material, and instead of accepting the trade, black would play very aggressively with r8 plus 3. Now this will apply a pin, and this is a no-nonsense, a very powerful move that would allow black to make gains on both the offensive and defensive ends. p7 plus 1, and red, because the cannon was over here, it would protect the pawn, and now this pawn will become a major threat. So red will be forced to retreat his chariot out of desperation. Okay, p7 plus 1 again would be a bad idea because the black's pawn would now capture the central pawn and prepare to attack the center. Say after trading material, if e7 plus 5 were played, black would have this move. And black would now command the central file with this move and be prepared to attack in all sorts of manner. He could move the king out for a iron ball checkmate. There's also playing 8 equals to 7 or even h8 plus 7, etc. to attack the elephant to try to checkmate. So black immediately gains a winning position, and that is why p7 plus 1 is not advisable. So after, black will now tackle the issue of this horse and trade with the red horse. And because red felt that the cannon was more of a threat, he would capture the cannon instead of the horse. And black's horse would now charge to the cross river bank rank, and as can be seen, his pieces are extremely open and mobile. So at this point in time, this would be another position of discussion. At this point in time, there will be 3 sub-variations. The first would be r4 equals to 6, the second would be r4 plus 3, and the last would be p5 plus 1. So let us go over variation BA, which is r4 equals to 6. This red tries to deal with the threat of this horse, which can go for the elbow horse attack at any time. But in doing so, this flank would now be empty. So black would play very aggressively and choose to sacrifice his horse with this move and play h6 plus 8, threatening to checkmate. Red will be forced to defend in this manner, but black will counter with e5 plus 3, so that the cannon will now be attacking the chariot. The chariot cannot capture the elephant, or the horse will capture it. Red tries to mount some form of offensive by traversing his pawn and attacking the elephant for checkmate. Of course, red would defend brilliantly in this manner, and he will try to orchestrate an attack. Say red tried to, this chariot was done for, and he would have to sacrifice it. So after trading material, red will now play r2 minus 1. Now r2 minus 1 is a very powerful move, because now black can go for a checkmate with h8 plus 6, and this horse would have trouble moving. So black would be guaranteed to win. So this would be variation BA. Now in variation BB, red would try to push his chariot forward to attack this cannon, and black would counter very aggressively. Now this pawn is protected by the horse, so black cannot capture the pawn. So let's say red tried to block the horse. This horse would now jump to the second file and be prepared to go for a checkmate. So red takes out the pawn, trying to salvage the situation, but the issue of the central horse is still a big headache for him. Now it would be a bad idea, let's say, if he played h5 plus 7, and red will play p6 equals to 5, threatening to capture the red chariot. If it moved away, this would be a check, and red would be in all sorts of trouble. He would still be unable to deal with black's aggression. So f4 plus 5, f4 minus 5, sorry, to capture the pawn, and black will start attacking the elbow horse check, and red will be forced to capture the chariot. But either way, uh, with the with the with the palace so congested, it will just only be a matter of time before red lost. And this cannon is protected by the horse, so there's nothing that red could try or attempt at this point in time. So it's obvious that black would have the supreme advantage. Now to variation BC. Now let us go over variation BC. So red will push the pawn forward. This would block the horse from capturing his chariot. Now, while this threat is resolved temporarily, black would immediately attack with r4 plus 2, threatening to go for the elbow horse checkmate because of the horse that is stuck here. And if h2 plus 3 were played, red will be forced to capture the horse, otherwise it would be a checkmate. So let's say red tried to prevent this with playing r4 equals to 6. He would try to block the horse if need be. Now, c9 equals to 6 is not a viable option because if this were played, black would immediately attack with c7 plus 5 to target the chariot. Now, if it moved, let's say, for here, red would capture the cannon over here for a checkmate. So the only viable move, r7 minus 1. And black continues very aggressively. Let's say red got attacks, captures the cannon, and black would now continue his very aggressive attack with this move of h8 plus 6. Now he threatens to play r4 equals to 5 for the checkmate with this move. Now, because just to explain, if let's say if red did not capture the horse, let's say for example for any move, red would deliver a check. This would be a double check, forcing the king out. Immediate checkmate. So with r8 plus 6, this would be a discovered attack. The chariot will now be prepared to move here, and this horse will also control this intersection. So that is why in the book it was said that black would be prepared to play r4 equals to 5 to sacrifice his chariot for a checkmate. So black is forced to capture the chariot. After trading material, black would pin red's cannon and horse to the central file, and he will be prepared to play h6 plus 8, preparing to checkmate with h8 plus 6 or h8 plus 7. So black would have a winning position. So that's why c9 equals to 6 is not a viable option. r4 equals to 6, would it work? Of course not, because now black will make a very beautiful move of h8 minus 6 to retreat his horse and attack this chariot in this manner. This will also give this black chariot an open line to attack. Now, since the horse was attacking the chariot, red will usually defend in this manner. Now, unfortunately, this will not salvage or make things for the better, because let's say if he played r6 minus 1, we will attack the chariot again. If the chariot moved, this chariot, let's say if captured, again it is obvious that black would now have a winning position in terms of material. So let's say if r6 plus 1 were played, again this horse would continue to attack h6 plus 5, sacrificing the chariot and preparing to go for a checkmate with h5 plus 4. So red would not dare to capture the chariot, but in doing so, again this cannon will now play a pivotal role attacking the chariot again, red will lose material and the game. So that is why there's nothing that black could do. So let us review the game. Shall recap. Okay, central cannon, a 7th pawn advancement, pawn rank chariot, edge cannon for chariot exchange variation, c2 equals to 3, c9 minus 1, h8 plus 7, prophylactic move, c8 equals to 9 for the 5-9 cannons. So far these are considered orthodox for both colors. Black attacks the chariot and dislodges it, advances the horse to the riverbank, preparing to play p7 plus 1. Oh, sorry, let us do it from the eyes of black, sorry. And r9 equals to 8, r1 equals to 2, red charges the pawn across the river, pushes the pawn, threatening the chariot. So far still orthodox. h4 plus 3 is not a good idea. r4 plus 3 is not a good idea, sorry. b7 plus 1, retreating the horse. e7 plus 5, and the dubious move, capturing the pawn, attacking the horse. And black will counter aggressively with c2 plus 4. Variation A will be p7 plus 1. Black will start making trouble on this flank, forcing the chariot away, advancing the chariot, preparing to play r2 equals to 4, forcing the red chariot to retreat. Check. And one cannon is traded for 2 elephants, whereby after trading, red would now have a very powerful attack going on. So the black cannon is traded for the 2 red elephants, and red would be able to orchestrate a very powerful attack on this flank. Variation B, instead of p7 plus 1, red moves the horse to the riverbank for another complicated variation. c2 equals to 3, targeting the chariot. And black would attack with the same moves of trade and material, but black would choose to apply a pin. Plus 1. Now the pawn joins in to make mischief, and black is forced to make this move out of desperation. h3 plus 5, and this horse will now be also ready to attack the moving across the river, attacking this red chariot, and also going for the elbow horse. 3 sub variations. Variation BA, r4 equals to 6, BB, r4 plus 3, and p5 plus 1 to block, while as red tries to mount an attack from the central file. Variation BA, black is intent on sacrificing this horse for attack, attempting to go for a checkmate, and then raising the elephant, controlling this file. Red tries to sneak in a kill, but black would defend, and red is forced to lose the cannon and probably the game. Black will be guaranteed to win. Variation BB, r4 plus 3, to move the chariot out of harm's way and try to attack the cannon. Again, this is a very, very powerful attack by the black cannon, c7 plus 5, as black vies for control of the pawn rank. s7 equals to 6, r4 plus 2, h4 plus 2, sorry, capturing, and check. Red loses the chariot and the game. Final variation, p5 plus 1, to allow the red chariot to be on the cross riverbank rank and prevent capture. But the horse would still move, threatening with elbow horse checkmate, forcing red to move. Otherwise, if Black will to play h2 plus 3. Red will be forced to sacrifice his chariot for the black horse, and again, black will still have a winning position. See, it equals to 6. Black will now stir up trouble on this flank, threatening, capturing the pawn, and still manage to gain a chariot. So there was black's earlier sacrifice will now become a pseudo sacrifice, as black will be able to gain material, give away lost material, and also have a winning position. And all this stemmed from red's r8 equals to 7 move earlier on. So as can be seen, the edge, the edge cannon for chariot variation, especially the 5-knight cannons, red playing 5-knight cannons, is a very complicated position, and to be frank, I am not very confident of playing this variation either as black or red, because it is very easy to play both colors in this situation, but more often than not, there will be many traps that are available, and one will have to be very careful. So I hope you like this short board, and if you do like the work that I've been doing, please do subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.